May I have the cup? Haven't you finished with it yet? What are you looking at? Do I really look so terrible? Well, I've been up all night, and of course you think I've been making a night of it? You think I've been drinking, eh? Does my breath smell of liquor? I know, I haven't shaved. Give me a drink, girl, I've earned it. Well, I suppose I shall have to tell you. You see, I've been dressing wounds and caring for the injured all night. I was there when that house collapsed. Now you know. Thanks. Would you do me a great favor? The thing is, my eyes, as you can see, are inflamed. But my hands have been touching wounds and corpses all night, and so it would be unsafe to put them near my eyes. Would you take my handkerchief, it's quite clean, and dip it in the fresh water and bathe my eyes? Will you do this? Will you play the Good Samaritan? Thank you, my dear. I apologize for my ignorance, but I'm only half awake.
Excuse me speaking to you, but I heard you say you were at the scene of the accident last night? I was just reading about it in the paper.
Is it in the paper already?
The whole thing, including your portrait. However, they regret that they have been unable to find out the name of the splendid young student.
Really? Why, yes, that's me. Well, I never.
Who was it you were speaking to just now by the fountain?
Didn't you see?
Would it be impertinent to inquire what, in fact, your name is?
What would be the point? I don't care for publicity. With any approval, there's always disapproval as well. The art of running people down has been developed to such a pitch. And besides, I don't want any reward.
You're well off, perhaps?
No. On the contrary, I'm very poor.
Do you know, it seems to me I've heard your voice before. When I was young, I had a friend who pronounced certain words just as you do. I've never met anyone with quite that pronunciation, only him and you. Are you by any chance related to Mr. Arkenholtz, the merchant?
He was my father.
Strange are the paths of fate. I saw you when you were an infant, under very painful circumstances.
Yes, I understand I came into the world in the middle of a bankruptcy.
Just that.
Perhaps I might ask your name.
I am Mr. Hummel.
Are you I remember that.
Have you often heard my name mentioned in your family?
Yes.
And mentioned perhaps with a certain aversion? Yes, I can imagine it. You were told, I suppose, that I was the man who ruined your father. All who ruin themselves through foolish speculations expect that they were ruined by those they could not fool. Now these are the facts. Your father robbed me of 17,000 crowns, the whole of my savings at the time.
It's queer how the same story can be told in two such different ways.
You surely don't believe that what I'm telling you isn't true.
What am I to believe? My father didn't lie.
That is so true. A father never lies. But I too am a father, and so it follows.
What are you driving at?
I saved your father from disaster. And he repaid me with all the frightful hatred that is born of an obligation to be grateful.
Maybe you made him ungrateful by poisoning your help with unnecessary humiliation.
All help is humiliating, sir.
What do you want from me?
I'm not asking for money, but if you will render me a few small services, I shall consider myself well paid. You see, I am a cripple. Some say that it is my own fault. Others lay the blame on my parents. I prefer to blame life itself, with its pitfalls. For if you escape one snare, you fall headlong into another. At any rate, I am unable to climb stairs or ring doorbells, and that is why I'm asking you for help.
What can I do?
Well, to begin, push me so that I can read the playbills. I want to see what is on tonight.
Haven't you got an attendant?
Yes, but he is on an errand. He will return later. Are you a medical student?
No, I'm studying languages, but I don't know at all what I'm going to do yet.
Aha. Are you good at mathematics?
Yes, fairly.
Good. Perhaps you would like a job.
Yes, why not?
Splendid. They are doing the Valkyrie for the matinee, which means that the colonel will be there with his daughter. And as he always sits at the end of the 6th row, I will put you next to him. Go to that telephone kiosk and order a ticket for seat 82 in the 6th row.
Am I to go to the opera in the middle of the day?
Yes. Do as I tell you and things will go well with you. I want to see you happy, rich, honored. Your debut last night as the brave rescuer will make you famous by tomorrow. And then your name will be worth something.
What an odd adventure.
Are you a gambler?
Yes, unfortunately.
We'll make it fortunately. Go on now. Telephone.
Where is he? He was supposed to be here hours ago. I never should have trusted.
Did you fix it up?
It's done.
Do you see this house?
Yes, I've been looking at it quite a lot. I came by here the other day when the sun was shining on the window panes, and one could only imagine what beauty and elegance lay inside. I said to my companion, imagine living up there in the top flat with a beautiful young wife, 2 pretty little children, and an income of 20,000 crowns a year.
So that's what you said. That's what you said. Well, I too am very fond of this house.
Do you speculate in houses?
Yes, but not in the way you mean.
Do you know the people who live here?
Every one of them. At my age, one knows everybody, and their parents and grandparents too. And one is related to them in some way or another. I am just 80, but no one knows me. Not really. I take an interest in human destiny. That's the colonel, whom you will sit next to this afternoon.
Is he the colonel? I don't understand any of this, but it's like a fairy tale.
My whole life's like a book of fairy tales. And although the stories are different, the main theme constantly recurs.
Who is that marble statue of?
That, naturally, is his wife.
Was she such a wonderful person?
Yes.
Tell me.
We cannot judge people, young man. If I were to tell you that she left him, that he beat her, that she returned to him and married him a 2nd time, and now she sits in there like a mummy, worshiping her own statue, well, then you would think me crazy.
I don't understand.
I didn't expect you would. Well, then we have the window with the hyacinths. His daughter lives in there. She's gone out for a ride, but she will return later.
And who is that dark lady with the caretaker?
Well, it's a bit complicated, but it has to do with the dead man, up there where you see the black sheet.
Why, who is he?
A human being like you or me. But the most conspicuous thing about him was his vanity. If you were a Sunday child, you would see him come out to take a look at the consulate flag. He was, you understand, a consul, and he reveled in such things as coronets and plumed hats and lions and colored ribbons.
A Sunday child, you say? I'm told I was born on a Sunday.
No. Were you really? I might have guessed from the look in your eye. So then you can see what others cannot. Have you noticed that?
Well, I don't know what others do see, but at times, I don't want to talk about that.
But you can talk to me, because I understand such things.
Yesterday, for instance, I was drawn to that obscure little street where later on the house collapsed. I went there, and I stood in front of that building, which I had never seen before. Then I noticed a crack in the wall. I heard the floorboards start to snap. I dashed over and picked up a child that was passing underneath the wall. The next instant, the entire house collapsed on itself. I was saved, but in my arms, which I thought held the child, was nothing at all.
Just as I expected. Tell me something. Why were you gesticulating that way just now by the fountain? And who were you talking to?
Didn't you see the little milkmaid I was speaking to?
Milkmaid?
Surely, the girl who handed me the cup.
So that is what is going on around here? Ah. Well, I haven't second sight, but there are things I can do. Do you see that old woman in the window? She was once my fiancée. 60 years ago. I was 20. Do not be alarmed. She does not recognize me. We see each other every day, and it leaves no impression on me. Although once we vowed to love each other eternally. Eternally.
What a fool you were back then. We never speak to our women like that.
Forgive us, young man. We did not know any better. But can you see that that old woman was once young and beautiful?
It doesn't show. And yet, there's some charm in her looks. I can't see her eyes.
Ah, and now the caretaker is spreading the fir branches for the funeral. And that dark lady, that's her daughter by the dead man. That's why her husband was given the job of caretaker. And this dark lady, she has a suitor who is an aristocrat with great expectations. He is in the process of getting a divorce from his current wife. She's presenting him with a stone mansion to be rid of him. But this aristocratic suitor is the son-in-law of the dead man, whose bedclothes you see being aired up there on the balcony. It's a bit complicated, I must say.
It's fearfully complicated.
That it is, internally and externally. Although it looks quite simple.
But then who is the dead man?
You just asked that and I answered. If you were to look around the corner to where the tradesman's entrance is, you would see a lot of poor people whom he used to help when it suited him.
He was a kind man then.
Yes, sometimes.
Not always?
No. That is the way of people. Now, if you'll push me out into the sun, I am terribly cold. When you cannot move about, the blood congeals. I'm going to die soon. I know that. But before I do, there are some things that I wish to do. Take my hand. Feel how cold I am.
Yes, inconceivably.
Do not leave me. I am old and tired, but I have not always been this way. I have an enormously long life behind me. Enormously long life. I have made people unhappy, and they have made me unhappy, but the one cancels the other out. But before I go, I want to see you happy. We are entwined through your father and other things.
Let go of me! You are draining my strength! You are freezing me! What do you want with me?
Be patient. And you will see and understand. Here comes the young lady.
The colonel's daughter?
That is his daughter, yes. Tell me, have you ever seen such a masterpiece?
She is like the marble statue in there.
That's her mother, you know.
Yes, you are right. Never have I seen such a woman of woman born. Happy the man who may bring her to the altar and his home.
So then you can see her beauty. Not everyone can. So then it is written. Are you weeping?
In the face of what's hopeless, there can be nothing but despair.
But I can open doors and hearts. If only I find an arm to do my will.
Is it a bargain? Am I to sell my soul?
Sell nothing. Listen. All my life I have taken. Now I wish to give. Give. But no one will accept. I am rich. Very rich. But I have no heirs except a good-for-nothing who torments the life out of me. Become my son. Inherit me while I'm still alive. Live life so that I can watch, at least from a distance.
What am I to do?
Go to the Valkyrie,
That settled, what else?
and then tonight you will be received in there, in the round room,
How am I to get in there?
by way of the Valkyrie.
Why have you chosen me as your medium? Did you know me before?
Yes, of course. I have had my eye on you for a long time. But now look, the caretaker is hoisting the flag to half-mast for the funeral. And then she will turn the bedclothes. Do you see that blue quilt? It was made for two to sleep under, but now it covers only one. And here is my little girl. She is talking to the flowers. Is she not like the blue hyacinth herself? She gives them drink, nothing but pure water, and they transform that water into color and fragrance. And now here comes the colonel with the newspaper. He's showing her the bit about the house that collapsed. Now he's pointing to your portrait. She's not indifferent. She's reading of your brave deed. I think it's beginning to cloud over. I shall be in a pretty fix unless Johansson returns soon. Now my fiancée is closing the window. 79 years old. That window mirror is the only mirror she uses, because in it she sees not herself, but the outside world in two directions. But the world can see her too. She hasn't thought of that. Anyhow, she's a handsome old woman.
Good God, what do I see?
What do you see?
Don't you see? There, in the doorway, the dead man.
I see nothing, but I expected this. Tell me.
He's coming out into the street. Now he's turning his head and looking up at the flag.
What did I tell you? You may be sure he'll count the wreaths and read the visiting cards. Woe to him who is missing.
Now he's turning the corner.
He's gone to count the poor at the back door. The poor are in the nature of a decoration, you see, followed by the blessings of many. Well, he's not going to have my blessing. Between ourselves, he was a great scoundrel.
But charitable.
A charitable scoundrel. Always thinking of his grand funeral. When he knew the end was near, he cheated the state out of 50,000 crowns. And now his daughter has relations with another woman's husband and is wondering about the will. Yes, the scoundrel can hear every word we're saying, and he is welcome to it. Here comes Johansson. Report. He was not home? You are an ass! And the telegram? Nothing? Go on. At 6 this evening, a special edition, you say? With his name in full. Arkenholtz, a student, born, and with his parents. I think it's beginning to rain. So what did he say about it? He wouldn't? Well, he must! Here comes the aristocrat. Push me around the corner. I want to see what the poor are saying. Arkenholtz, stay here. You understand? Hurry up! Hurry up!
But what are we going to do about it? We shall have to wait.
I can't wait.
You can't? Well then, go into the country.
I don't want to do that.
Come over here, or else they'll hear us.
My master asks you not to forget that other thing, sir.
Look here. First of all, who is your master?
Well, he's so many things, and he has been everything.
Is he a wise man?
Depends what that is. He says all his life he's been looking for a Sunday child, but that may not be true.
And what does he want? He's grasping, isn't he?
It's power he wants. All day long he rides around in his chariot like the god Thor himself. He looks at houses, opens up new streets, builds squares, but he breaks into houses too. Plays havoc with human destinies, kills his enemies, and never forgives. Can you believe it? That miserable cripple was once a Don Juan, although he always lost his women.
How do you account for that?
You see, he's so cunning that he makes the women leave him when he's tired of them. But what he's really like is a horse thief in the human market. He steals people in all sorts of different ways. He literally stole me out of the hands of the law. As a matter of fact, I had made a slip, yes, but only he knew about it. And instead of getting me put in jail, he turned me into a slave. I slave for my food alone, and that is none of the best.
Then what is it he wants in this house?
I'm not going to talk about that. It's too complicated.
I think I'd better get away from it all.
Oh, look! The young lady has dropped her bracelet out of the window. So you mean to get away? It's not as easy as you think once he has you in his net, and he's afraid of nothing between heaven and earth. Of one thing he is. Of one person, rather.
Don't tell me. I think perhaps I may know.
But how can you know?
I'm guessing. Is it a little milkmaid he's afraid of?
He turns his head the other way whenever he sees a milk cart. Besides, he talks in his sleep. It seems he was once in Hamburg.
Can one trust this man?
You can trust him to do anything.
What is he doing now around the corner?
Listening to the poor, sowing a little word, loosening one stone at a time till the house falls down. Metaphorically speaking. You see, I am an educated man. I was once a bookseller. Do you still mean to get away?
I don't like to be ungrateful. He saved my father once, and now all he asks in return is a small service.
And what's that?
I'm to go to the Valkyrie.
Ugh, that's beyond me. But he's always thick with the police. He's always up to new tricks, and he's thick with the police. Look at him now, talking to that policeman. He gets involved in their interests, holds them with false accusations and expectations while all the time he's pumping them. You'll see that before the day is over, you'll be received in the round room.
Well, what does he want there? Well, what business has he with the colonel?
I think I can guess. But I'm not sure. You'll see for yourself when you're in there.
I shall never be in there.
That depends on yourself. Go to the Valkyrie.
Is that the way?
Yes, if he said so. Look. Look at him now in his war chariot, drawn in triumph by the beggars, who get nothing for their pains but the hint of a treat at his funeral.
Hail the noble youth who, at the risk of his own life, saved so many others in yesterday's accident. 3 cheers for Archenholz! True, it is a Sunday, but the ass in the pit and the ear in the cornfield will absolve us. And although I am not a Sunday child, I have the gift of prophecy. I once brought a drowned man back to life. That was in Hamburg on a Sunday morning, just like this. No. 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 Johansson! Take me away! Quick! Archenholz, don't forget! The Valkyrie.
What is all this?
We shall see. We shall see.
You'll have to serve the tea, Johansson, while I handle the chairs. Have you done it before?
It's true. I push a war chariot in the daytime, as you know, but in the evenings, I go as a waiter to receptions and so forth. It's always been my dream to get into this house. They're queer people here, aren't they?
Yes. Well, a bit out of the ordinary, anyhow.
Is it to be a musical party or what?
Oh, the usual ghost supper, as we call it. They drink their tea and don't say a word, or else the colonel does all of the talking. And they crunch their biscuits all at the same time. It sounds like rats. in an attic.
Why do you call it the ghost supper?
They look like ghosts. They've kept this up for 20 years. Always the same people saying the same things, or else saying nothing at all for fear of being found out.
Isn't there a mistress of the house?
Oh, yes, but she's crazy. She sits in a cupboard because her eyes can't bear the light. She sits in there.
In there?
I told you they were a bit out of the ordinary.
But then what does she look like?
Like a mummy. Would you like to have a look at her? There she is.
Oh my God.
Why'd you open the door? Haven't I told you to keep it closed? Be a good girl now and you'll get something nice. Pretty Polly.
Pretty Polly. Are you there? Jacob?
She thinks she's a parrot. Maybe she's right. Whistle for us, Polly.
Well, I have seen a few things in my day, but this beats everything.
When a house grows old, it gets moldy. When people spend too long together and torment each other, they go mad. The mistress of the... Shut up! Polly! The mistress of this house, this mummy here, she has been living here for 40 years. Same husband, same furniture, same relatives, same friends. The goings on in this house, well, they're beyond me. This statue here, that's her when she was young.
Good Lord, is the mummy?
Yes, it's enough to make you weep. And somehow, carried away by her own imagination or something, she's got to be a bit like a parrot. The way she talks and how she can't stand the sight of cripples or sick people. She can't even stand the sight of her own daughter because the poor girl is sick.
Is the young lady sick?
Don't you know that?
No. And the colonel, who is he?
Oh, you'll see.
It's terrible to think that. How old is she now?
Oh, nobody knows. But it's said that when she was 35, she looked 19. That's what she led the colonel to believe she was, here in this very house. Do you know what that black Japanese screen by the couch is for? They call it the death screen. When someone's about to die, they put it round. Same as in a hospital.
What a horrible house. And the student, he was longing to get in here as if it were paradise.
Oh, I know. The one who's coming here tonight. The colonel and the young lady met him at the opera. Took quite a fancy to him. Now it's my turn to ask the questions. Who is your master? The man in the wheelchair?
Well, is he coming here too?
He hasn't been invited.
Oh, he'll come uninvited, if need be.
He's a regular old devil, isn't he?
Up to the ears.
He looks like old Nick himself.
Must be a wizard too, for he goes through locked doors.
Rascal, take care! Tell the colonel I am here.
But we are expecting guests.
Well, my visit is as good as expected, if not exactly looked forward to.
I see. And what name shall I say? Mr. Hummel?
Yes. Get out. Get out! Amelia. It is she. She.
Pretty pally.
What was that? Is there a parrot in this room? I don't see it.
Are you there? Stay calm.
The house is haunted. I'm scared. So these are the kinds of secrets that they guard in this house? God in heaven! Who is it?
Is it Jacob?
My name is Jacob.
My name is Amelia.
No. No. Oh my God.
Yes, that's how I look. And this is how I did look. Life opens one's eyes, don't you think? I live mostly in the cupboard now to avoid seeing and being seen, but... Jacob, what do you want here?
My daughter. Our daughter.
There she is.
Where?
There. In the hyacinth room.
That is she. And what about the colonel? I mean, your husband?
Once when I was angry with him, I told him everything.
Well?
He didn't believe me. He just said that's what all wives say when they want to murder their husbands. It was a terrible crime nonetheless. It has falsified his whole life, his family tree too. Sometimes when I take a look at our ancestry, I say to myself, there she is. Going about with a false birth certificate. And for such things, people are put into the reformatory.
Many do it. I seem to remember your own date of birth was given incorrectly.
My mother made me do that. I was not to blame. And in our crime, you played the biggest part.
No. Your husband caused that crime when he took my fiancée from me. I was born one who cannot forget until he has punished. That was to me an imperative duty, and is so still.
What do you expect to find in this house? What do you want? How did you get in? Is it to do with my daughter? If you touch her, you shall die.
I mean well by her.
Then you must spare her father.
No.
Then you shall die. In this room, behind that screen.
That may be. But I cannot let go once I've got my teeth into a thing.
You want to marry her to that student. Why? He has nothing and is nothing.
He will be rich through me.
Have you been invited here tonight?
No, but I propose to get myself an invitation to this ghost supper.
Do you know who's coming?
Not exactly.
Baron. The man whose father-in-law was buried this afternoon.
The man who is getting a divorce in order to marry the daughter of the caretaker's wife. The man who used to be your lover.
Another guest will be your former fiancé, who was seduced by my husband.
A select gathering.
Oh, God. If only we might die. Might die.
Then why have you stayed together?
Crimes and secrets and guilt bind us together. We have broken our bonds and gone our own ways, times without number, but we are always drawn together again.
I think the colonel is coming.
Then I will go into Adele. Jacob, mind what you do. Spare him.
Be seated, please. You wrote this letter, sir?
I did.
Your name is Hummel?
It is.
As I understand, you brought in all my unpaid promissory notes. I can only conclude that this means I'm in your hands now. What do you want?
I want payment. In one way or another.
In what way?
A very simple one. Just bear with me in your house as a guest.
If so little will satisfy you. What else?
Dismiss Bengtson.
Why should I do that? My devoted servant, who has been with me a lifetime, who has a medal for long and faithful service. Why should I do that?
That is how you see him. Full of excellent qualities. He is not the man he appears to be.
Who is?
True. But Bengtson must go.
Are you going to run my house?
Yes! Since everything here belongs to me. The chairs, the linens, the dinner service. And more, too.
How do you mean more?
Everything. I own everything. It is mine.
Very well, it is yours. But my family honor and my good name remain my own.
No, not even those. If you will read this excerpt from the Memorial Gazette, you'll see that the family whose name you have been using has been extinct for 100 years.
I've heard the rumors to this effect, but I inherited my name from my father. It is true. You are right. I am not a nobleman. Then I must take off my signet ring. It is true. It belongs to you. There you are.
Good. Now we will continue. You are not a colonel either.
I am not.
No. You once held the temporary rank of colonel in the American Volunteer Force, but after the war in Cuba and the reorganization of the army, all such titles were abolished.
Is this true?
Would you like to read it?
No, that's not necessary. Who are you and what right do you have stripping me in this fashion?
You will see. But as far as stripping you goes, Do you know who you are?
How dare you?
Take off that wig and have a look at yourself in the mirror. But shave off that mustache, too. Let Bankson unlace those metal stays, and perhaps a certain XYZ, a lackey, will recognize himself. Do not touch that bell. Do not call Bankson. If you do, I shall have him arrested. And now the guests are beginning to arrive. We shall continue to play our old parts for a while.
Who are you? I recognize your voice and eyes.
Do not try to find out. Keep silent and obey.
How do you do, sir?
Welcome to my home, young man. Your splendid behavior at the great disaster has brought your name to everybody's lips. And I count it an honor to receive you in my home.
My humble descent, sir. Your illustrious name and noble birth.
May I introduce Mr. Arkenholtz, Mr. Hummel. Now, if you will join the ladies in here, Mr. Arkenholtz, I must conclude my conversation with Mr. Hummel. A splendid young man. Musical, sings, writes poetry. If only he had blue blood in him. If only we were of the same station, I don't think I should object.
To what?
To my daughter.
Your daughter? But apropos of that, why does she spend all of her time in there?
She insists on spending all of her time in the hyacinth room, except when she is out of doors. It's an idiosyncrasy of hers. Ah, and here comes Miss Beatrice von Holsteinkrone, a charming woman and a pillar of the church, with just enough money to suit her name and position.
My fiancé.
Miss Arkenholtz, Mr. Hummel. Baron Sandskorg.
I think that's the jewel thief. If you bring in the mummy, then the party will be complete.
Polly. let the ghost supper commence. Shall we have the tea served?
No. No one wants tea. Why should we pretend about it?
Then shall we talk?
Talk of the weather, which we know. Inquire about each other's health, which we know just as well. I prefer silence. Then one can hear thoughts and see the past. Silence cannot hide anything. Words can. I read the other day that the differences in languages originated amongst savages for the purposes of keeping one tribe's secrets hidden from another. Every language, therefore, is a code, and he who possesses the key can understand every language in the world. But this does not keep secrets from being revealed without a key, especially when there's a question of paternity to be proved. Proof in a court of law is another matter. Two false witnesses suffice to prove anything about which they are agreed. But one does not bring witnesses along the kind of explorations I have in mind. Nature herself has instilled in humans a sense of modesty, which tries to hide that which should be hidden. But we slip into situations unintentionally, and by chance, sometimes the deepest secrets are revealed. The mask torn off the imposter. The villain exposed. Here, for example, in this honorable house, this elegant home where beauty, wealth, and culture are united. Everyone sitting here knows who we are, do we not? There's no reason for me to tell you. And you know who I am, although you pretend ignorance. And in there is my daughter. Mine. Although you knew that as well. She had lost the desire to live without knowing why. The fact is, she was withering away here, in this air charged with crime and deceit and falseness of every kind. That is why I looked for a friend for her, in whose company she might share the light and warmth of noble deeds. That was my mission in this house. To pull up the weeds. To expose the crimes. To settle all accounts. So that those young people might start afresh in this house. Which is my gift to them. Now, I will grant safe passage to each of you in his or her proper time and place. Whoever stays, I shall have arrested. Do you hear the clock ticking? Like a death watch beetle in the wall. Do you hear what it says? It's time. It's time. It's time. It's raising up its arm against you before it strikes. Listen. The clock may strike, but I can strike too! Do you hear?
But I can stop time in its course. I can wipe out the past and undo what was done. But not with bribes, not with threats. Only through suffering and repentance. We are miserable human beings. That we know. We have erred, and we have sinned. We, like all the rest. But at bottom, we are better than ourselves, since we detest our sins. But when you, Jacob Hummel, with your false name, choose to sit in judgment over us, you prove yourself worse than us miserable sinners, for you are not the one you appear to be. You are a thief of human souls! You stole me once with false promises. You murdered the consul who was buried today. You strangled him with debts. You have stolen the student, binding him by the pretense of a claim on his father, who never owed you a farthing. But there's one dark spot in your life which I'm not quite sure about, although I have my suspicions. I think Bengtson knows.
No, not Bengtson. Not him.
So he does know. Do you know this man, Bengtson?
And he knows me. Life, as you are aware, has its ups and its downs. I was in his service. At another time, he was in mine. For 2 whole years, he was a leech in my kitchen. As he had to be away by 3, the dinner was got ready by 2, and the family had to eat the warmed up leavings of that brute. He drank the soup stock, which the cook then filled up with water. He sat out there like a vampire, sucking the marrow out of the house until we became like skeletons. And he nearly got us put in prison when we called the cook a thief. Later, I met this man in Omborg under a different name. He was a usurer then, a bloodsucker. But while he was there, he was charged with having lured a young girl out onto the ice so as to drown her. Because she had seen him commit a crime he was afraid would be discovered.
No, no.
This is you. And I have the notes and the will.
Johansen!
Parrot. Are you there? Jacob?
Jacob is here. Pretty Polly.
May the clock strike.
The clock may strike. Goo-goo. Goo-goo. Goo-goo.
Now the clock has struck. Rise and enter the cupboard where I have spent 20 years repenting our crime. There is a rope hanging there, which you can take as the one with which you murdered the consul and with which you meant to murder your benefactor. Go! Bengtson, put up the screen. The death screen. It is finished. God have mercy on his soul.
I saw the sun. To me, it seemed that I beheld the hidden. Men must reap what they have sown. Blessed is he whose deeds are good. Deeds which you have wrought in fury cannot in evil find redress. Comfort him you have distressed with loving kindness. This will heal. No fear has he who does no ill. Sweet his innocence.
Now sing to my flowers.
Is this the flower of your soul?
The one and only. Do you too love the hyacinth?
I love it above all other flowers. Its virginal shape, rising straight and slender out of the bulb, resting on the water and sending its pure white roots down into the colorless fluid. I love its colors. The snow white, pure as innocence. The yellow, honey sweet. The youthful pink. The ripe red. But best of all, the blue. The dewy blue, bright-eyed and full of faith. I love them all more than gold or pearls. I've loved them, have worshipped them, ever since I was a child. For they have all of the fine qualities that I lack. And yet,
Go on.
my love is not returned. These beautiful blossoms hate me.
How do you mean?
Their fragrance, strong and pure as the first winds of spring, resting over melting snows, confuses my senses, deafens me, blinds me, thrusts me out of the room, bombards me with poisoned arrows that wound my heart and set my head on fire. Do you know the legend of that flower?
Tell it to me.
First, its meaning. The base is like the earth. resting on the water, or buried deep in the soil. Next, the stalk rises straight as the axis of the world. And at the top are the 6 pointed star flowers.
Oh, above the earth, the stars. Oh, how wonderful. Where did you learn this? How did you find it out?
Let me think. In your eyes. So you see, it is an image of the cosmos. This is why Buddha sits, holding the earth bulb, his eyes brooding as he watches it, waiting for it to grow into a heaven. This poor earth will become a heaven. It is for this that Buddha waits.
I see it now. It's not the snowflake 6-pointed too, like the hyacinth flower.
You are right. The snowflakes must be fallen stars.
And the snowdrop is a snow star, grown out of snow.
But the largest and most beautiful of all of the stars in the firmament, the golden red Sirius, is the narcissus, with its gold and red chalice and its 6 white rays.
Have you seen the shallot in bloom?
Indeed I have. It bears its blossoms within a ball, a globe like the celestial one, strewn with white stars.
Oh, how glorious! Whose thought was that?
Yours.
Yours.
Ours. We have given birth to it together. We are wedded.
Not yet.
What's still to do?
Waiting. Ordeals. Patience.
Very well, put me to the test. Tell me, why do your parents sit in there so silently, not saying a word?
Because they have nothing to say to each other. And because neither believes what the other says. This is how my father puts it. What's the point of talking when neither of us can fool the other?
What a horrible thing to hear.
Here comes the cook. Look at her. How big and fat she is.
Who is that ogress?
She belongs to the Hummel family of vampires. She is eating us. We have no control over her. We've got her for our sins.
Don't you get enough to eat?
Yes, we get many dishes, but all the strength is gone. She boils the nourishment out of the meat and gives us the fiber and water while she drinks the stock herself. Everything she touches loses its savor. It's as if she sucked with her eyes.
Send her packing.
We can't.
Why not?
She won't go. No one has any control over her. She has taken all our strength from us.
May I get rid of her?
No. It must be as it is.
What an extraordinary house. It is bewitched.
Yes. And now she is turning away because she's seen you.
No, that wasn't the reason.
Get out.
When it suits me. It does suit me. Now.
Don't lose your temper. Practice patience. She is one of the ordeals we have to go through. You see, we have a housemaid too whom we have to clean up after.
I am done for. Cor in terra. Music.
Wait.
Music.
Patience. This room is called the Room of Ordeals. It is very
beautiful, but it is full of defects.
Really? Well, such things must be seen to. It is very beautiful, but a little cold. Why don't you have a fire?
Because it smokes.
Can't you have the chimney swept?
It doesn't help. You see that writing desk there?
An unusually fine piece.
But it wobbles. Every day I put a piece of cork under that leg, and every day when the housemaid sweeps, she takes it away, and I have to cut a new piece. The pen holder is covered in ink, and so is the inkstand. And I have to clean them up every morning as sure as the sun rises. What's the worst job that you could think of?
To count the washing. Ugh.
That I have to do. Ugh.
What else?
To be waked in the middle of the night and see to the window, which the housemaid has left banging.
What else?
And to get up on a ladder and tie the cord on the damper, which the housemaid has torn off.
What else?
To sweep after her, to dust after her, to light the fire on the stove when all she's done is throw in some wood, to see to the damper, to wipe the glasses, to see that the table is laid, to fill the bottles, to see that the rooms are aired, to remake my bed, to wipe the chimney and trim the wicks so that they don't go out when we have company. I have to fill them myself.
Music.
Wait, the labor comes first. The labor of keeping the dirt of life at a distance.
But you are wealthy and have 2 servants.
It doesn't help, even if we had 3. Living is hard work, and sometimes I grow tired. Think then if there were a nursery as well.
The greatest of joys.
And the costliest. Is life worth so much hardship?
That must depend on the reward you expect for your labors. I would shrink from nothing to win your hand.
Don't say that. You can never have me.
Why not?
You mustn't ask.
You dropped your bracelet out of the window.
Because my hand has grown so thin. There she is, the one who devours me and all of us.
What has she in her hand?
It is the bottle with scorpions on it. It is the soy which turns water into soup and takes the place of gravy. She makes cabbage soup with it and mock turtle soup too.
Get out!
You drain us of sap, and we drain you. We drink the blood and leave the water, but colored. Colored. I am going now, but all the same I shall stay, as long as I please.
Why did Bengtson get a medal?
For his great merits.
Has he no defects?
Yes, he has many. But you don't get a medal for them.
You have a great many secrets in this house.
As in all others. Permit us to keep ours.
Don't you approve of candor?
Yes, within reason.
Sometimes I'm seized with a raging desire to say all that I think, but I know that the world would go to pieces if one were completely candid. I went to a funeral yesterday in church. It was very solemn and beautiful.
Was it Mr. Hummel's?
My false benefactors, yes. At the head of the coffin stood the man with the mace, a dear friend of the deceased. I was deeply moved by the kind words and dignified mannerisms of the clergyman. I cried. We all cried. Afterwards, we went to a tavern where I learned that the man with the mace had been in love with the dead man's son, and that the dead man had borrowed money from his son's admirer. The next day, the clergyman was arrested for embezzling church funds. A pretty story.
Oh.
Do you know how I am thinking about you right now?
Don't tell me or I shall die.
I must or I shall die.
It is in asylums that people say everything they think.
Exactly. My father finished up in an asylum.
Was he ill?
No, he was well, but he was mad. He broke out once under these circumstances. In life, he had a small circle of acquaintances. He called them friends for short. There were a lot of hypocrites, of course, as most people are. But he had to have some society. He couldn't go on all alone. Well, as you know, in everyday life, no one tells people what he thinks of them, really. And he didn't either. He knew of their treachery. He'd sounded the depths of their deceit. But as he was a wise and well-bred man, he was always courteous to them. Then one day he threw a dinner party. It was in the evening, and he was tired from the day's work, and also from the strain of holding his tongue, while all the while talking rubbish with his guests. Well, at the dinner table, he rapped for silence, raised his glass, and began to speak. Then something loosed the trigger. He let out an enormous speech in which he stripped the whole company naked, one after the other, and told them all of their treachery. Then, tired out, he sat down on the table and told them all to go to hell. I was there that day, and I shall never forget what happened next. Father and mother came to blows. The guests rushed for the door, and my father was taken to a madhouse, where he died. Water that is still too long stagnates. And so it is in this house. There's something stagnating here. And yet I thought it was paradise itself that very first day I saw you walk in here. There I was, gazing through the window. I saw a colonel who was no colonel. I had a benefactor who was a thief and had to hang himself. I saw a mummy who was no mummy. And a maid. What of the maidenhood, by the way? Where is true beauty to be found? In nature. And in my own mind, when it is in its Sunday clothes. Where are honor and faith? In fairy tales and children's stories. Where is anything that keeps its promise? In my imagination! Now your flowers have poisoned me. And I have given the poison back to you. I asked you to become my wife in a home full of poetry and song and music. And then the cook came. Sursum corda. Try once again to strike fire into the golden harp. Please, I beg of you. I plead with you on my knees. Then I will do it myself. It is dumb and deaf. To think that the most beautiful flowers are so poisonous, are the most poisonous. The curse lies over the whole of creation itself. Why will you not be my bride? Because the very life spring within you is sick. Now I can feel that vampire in the kitchen beginning to suck me. I believe she's a lamia, one of those that sucks the blood of children. It is always in the kitchen that the seed leaves of the children are nipped, if it has not already happened in the bedroom! There are poisons that destroy the sight, and there are poisons that open the eyes. I seem to have been born with the latter, for I cannot see what is ugly as beautiful, nor can I call evil good. I cannot! Jesus Christ descended into hell. That was his pilgrimage on this earth. This prison, this madhouse, this charnel house, this earth. And the madmen killed him when he wanted to set them free. But the robber, they let go. The robber always gets the sympathy. Woe! Woe to us all! Savior of the world, save us! We perish!
I am dying.
The liberator is coming. Welcome, pale and gentle one. Sleep, you lovely, innocent, doomed creature, suffering for no fault of your own. Sleep without dreaming. And when you awake, may you be greeted by a sun that does not burn, in a home without dust, by friends without stain, by a love without flaw. You wise and gentle Buddha, sitting there, waiting for a heaven to sprout from the earth. Grant us patience in our ordeal and purity of will, so that this hope may not be confounded. I saw the sun. To me, it seemed that I beheld the hidden. Men must reap what they have sown. Blessed is he whose deeds are good. Deeds which you have wrought in fury. Cannot an evil find redress? Comfort him you have distressed with loving kindness. This.
You poor little child. Child of this world of illusion, guilt, suffering, and death. This world of change, disappointment, and pain. May the Lord of heaven be merciful to you upon your journey.